everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. I recently talked about a collection that I got from Earthling Publications called Altman's Tongue by an author named Brian Evenson. Evenson? I'm sure. Either way, I'm saying it wrong. Bro, I'll just stick with Evenson because I like the sound of it. I apologize if it's incorrect. But I got this collection from Brian Evenson, and I'm excited to read it, and I haven't read it yet, but in that video I made showing you what I got from Earthling Publications, I talked about a chapbook that Mitch Hull at Rapture Publishing has recently sent me, and this would be an early copy of it, since the chapbook isn't fully published yet. I did order a numbered edition and a lettered edition, and I'll put a link in the description to Rapture Publishing so you can order yourself. I think there are some numbered versions available, and there are also some numbered prints available with the cover image on it. But I did open this thing up just the other night, and I read this short story by Brian Evenson called Brother's Keeper. And brother, oh brother, what a story. And it is one story, and I guess one story does not a fan make. But if it did, I'd say I'm a fan. One story, it was a fabulous story. I really did truly enjoy this one. And it's a twist. And I don't want to get into the twist at all. But I didn't see it coming. In any way, I didn't see it coming. And I liked it. And if it's indicative of Brian Evenson's storytelling, then I'm really, really, really looking forward to getting into Altman's Tongue, the 30th anniversary edition from Earthling Publications. And I showed you this signed, numbered edition. There's a video on that, and I'll read it and I'll talk about it, what I thought. But today I wanted to talk about Brother's Keeper, and it's a relatively short story, as a short story typically is. 26 pages, and not every page has even writing on it. There's art in this edition, and I've shown this as well. I mean, there's art. A little bit about the story is the house, but essentially we have a story and a character named Jens, and Jens has grown up, moved out of his parents' house, and his parents have died. And Jens has a brother whose name is mentioned once in the story. Throughout the story, he's referred to as brother, or my brother, or something like that. So I won't tell you his name. His name is mentioned. But Jens has a brother, and his brother cannot take care of himself. So Jens' parents, essentially raising his brother for life, parents are now dead. Jens moves back to their home apartment to take care of his brother. And the parents never really talked about his brother's problems or issues or anything like that. But Jens has found that they're getting worse as he's moved back in. They're getting worse. And so to start with, there's a picture here that kind of shows how brother has taken and spray painted a red line across the center of their apartment. It's kind of like a mirror. You got bedroom on one side, bedroom on the other side, common room, kitchen, and all that kind of stuff. He's painted a red line and he says, don't cross. Don't let it notice you. And he doesn't really get to the bottom of that. But as the story, it's a short story, but as the story goes, Jens doesn't really want to give too much weight to his brother's weird things. He doesn't want to give him all the power, so he kind of violates, and his brother adapts. And I don't want to get into it anymore, but this story has a twist, and it's a heck of a twist, and I really dug it, man. But the title essentially comes from the story itself. It's kind of understood that when Jens' parents die, that Jens would be brother's keeper. And so that's where the title comes from. And I don't want to get into it any farther than that. But I've read that Brian Evenson is twisted and sick and stuff like that. I read some of those crazy things. And I recently watched a video, and he grew up as a Mormon. And I kind of his writing kind of caused trouble for him, and it ultimately caused him to either excommunicate himself from the church or vice versa, quit his job of working at the BYU, the Mormon University. I think that's what it is. But anyway, his writing style and the subject matter and stuff like that was apparently too much for his former religion, and he's out. But if that's any indication of what we're getting into, it's horror. Sounds like horror at its best. And he's written a lot of short stories, a lot of short fiction, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it. I've kind of stayed away from short fiction. Not that I didn't like it. I felt in the beginning when I started reading, it always took me a little time to get into a story. And so with a novel, I'd take that time to get into a story, and then I would really start to feel good about reading. And I'd really start to flow with the story. And I'd stick with writers that I trusted and that I knew. And that was my reading life. And I felt like when I read short fiction, by the time I started getting into it, it was over. And now you got the next story, and oftentimes by another author. And you might read out of 10 books in an anthology, or 10 stories in an anthology. I might have liked one or two of them, so I kind of stayed away. I even stayed away from collections from authors that I dug. In many cases, haven't read them. Got collections from some really authors that I really love, and I've kind of stayed away from them. But Earthling Publications and authors like Brian Evenson, maybe people like Mitch Hall, who's publishing chapbooks of a lot of excellent short stories, they're starting to break me of that. Starting to help me understand the joy, the wonder, the excellent method of short storytelling. How you can really get in and you can really get out with a nice, tight story. Some great stories out there that really wouldn't make great novels can be told in a short story form and can be amazing and memorable and make an impact. And this is a story that made an impact for me. The end, I loved it. I loved the twist. I loved the way it made me feel. I loved the fact that I thought, well, shoot, that can't be. And I started thinking back about further into the story and stuff like that. So it was a great one, and I'm in. I got a whole book right here I got to read of Brian Evenson. And when it comes to Rapture Publishing, whatever Mitch Hall publishes, I buy before he publishes it, before he even announces it. When he offers the bundles, I bundle it, man. I'll take them. Take them. He's a good fella. I trust him. I strongly recommend you check out Rapture Publishing. I'll put a link in the description. Strongly recommend you check out Earthling Publications, one of the greatest publishers on God's green earth, publishing high-quality limited edition novels and collections. Meanwhile, Mitch Hall at Rapture Publishing is publishing lettered and numbered edition chapbooks and art prints and stuff like that. Both just as good can be. And with that being said, I can think of no more lies to tell, so thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it, and say la vie, baby. Do-do.